Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Hicks. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the African American Chamber of Commerce here in Western Pennsylvania. Today's webinar will be on business succession plan, presented by Mr. Orlando Houston, who is the managing partner for Ohana Wealth Legacy. He is formerly the regional vice president with Equitable Advisors. Orlando, would you like to give a brief description of a brief bio of yourself before you get started with the presentation?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Sean. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Like Sean mentioned, my name is Orlando Houston, a financial consultant, managing partner with Ohana Wealth Legacy. And I've been in the financial industry for about 15 years. Used to be the regional vice president here at Equitable Advisors, which Ohana Wealth Legacy is an alliance with. And a lot of what I do is business succession planning is what I'll talk about today, but not limited to business succession planning, also financial holistic planning for individuals. So today we'll take a deeper dive into what business owners should think about when they're starting a business, or when they already have started a business, or when they're exiting a business. And hopefully you'll get some good information today. Just like this to be interactive. So if you do have questions, raise your virtual hand so I can see it, so Sean can see it, and then I can answer those questions. Or if you want to hold your question to the end, then that's fine as well. You want to just go straight into the presentation, Sean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can also put them in the chat and we'll get to them.
All right, so let me get started with a quote by Peter Drucker. Unless a commitment is made, there are only promises, hopes, but no plan. And that's getting towards what succession planning is. I do find that a lot of business owners that I work with are working a lot, kind of just like on the business. They're not thinking about other things that may come up that would prohibit them from transferring their business in an efficient manner to somebody else, or partner, or to a family member. A lot of business owners just close up shop simply because they don't have a plan to transfer the business. So, that's what we want to get ahead of, and just make sure that there is a commitment and a plan in place to make that transition a little bit easier. So the content of today's presentation, the importance of planning, the value of the business, planning options, and funding the plan. So the importance of planning. And I'm not sure if everybody on this call is a business owner, or has been a business owner, or maybe is even the, CEO or CFO, of a, family held company. But, hopefully you're able to relate. So a few different things happens when a business owner dies. Something was kind of sensitive. The family wants top dollar for the business, which rightfully so, they should get top dollar for the business. They want prompt payment and settlement, because maybe there's some bills that they have to pay off, some expenses that they have to continue to pay pending or when the business owner passes away. Typically, they want a fixed value for their estate purposes, for taxes, separation from the business. They don't want to be a part of the business. I know that the business that I have, if I were to, God forbid, pass away prior to my beneficiaries, that none of them, wife, kids, would want to be my business partner's partner. They don't understand how my business works, and they don't maybe even have the care to really to learn. So in the event that something does happen, to me prematurely, if there's nothing in place, which there is, but they would have to take over my part of the business. So typically the family just wants to separate from the business. And also they don't want a conflict as well. Obviously, the business owner, the family member passing away is a traumatic event. And at the end of the day, the last thing that you want in any situation, whether it be a business owner away or a family member passing away that didn't have a business, is any conflict with the partners of the business that or of the partner of the business owner that passed away. Now, with the business partner ones on the other side of the fence, they typically want full control. A lot of times they, that other business partner knows exactly how the business works. They don't want to have to explain and teach and train another person on how their business operates, because that costs money, right? Time is money. They don't want any interruption in business either. Depending on what type of business you're in, you may have to, get loans for your business, or you're in the business where you have contracts, and if there's an interruption in business, means that there's an interruption in money, and maybe your customers will continue to support you in this interrupted business phase, but a lot of times what happens is, the customer can only go so far without having some order fulfilled, or having some contract fulfilled, or having some business deal done. So they may just walk away and go to somebody else. The business partner wants minimum payments. Depending on how their payroll is set up, depending on how business is coming in, they may not have the funds to pay a lump sum payment or a large payment of what the family member thinks that the business is worth. So they want to make as minimum payments as possible, so that way they can continue they can continue to conduct business as what they were doing before. No interference from their heirs, like I said before, even on the separation of the business side of family, what the family member wants. Same thing on the business partner side. They don't want any interruption from the heirs. They want a smooth transition. They want to get it done and over with, so that way they can continue to run the business. They want uninterrupted access to credit. Again, if a business owner passes away and there's nothing in place for a smooth transition, then the creditors may not continue to lend money to that business because of the loss of a business owner, and they, that business may potentially lose money as a result. Okay, so importance of planning identifies who buys and when. So that's more on the buy-sell agreement. The one thing that you want to do, to get to this in a little bit, but I'll cover it right now as well, that if you do have a business partner, you want to have a buy-sell agreement. The buy-sell agreement is a basic contract that says, if I were to pass away, or if something were to happen to me that would interrupt me from performing my activities that I daily contribute to the business, then there's an agreement in place that says this will happen. My shares will go to somebody else, to my business partner, or I will be bought out, and my family would get a certain amount of money. Also, the importance of planning and establishing a fair price. Now, with establishing a fair price, if you started a business today, or you started a business 5 years ago, if your business is what you want it to be, like any other business, your business is going to continue to grow. Therefore, the price that your business is worth today is not going to be what it's worth in the future. Therefore, you want to have something in place that establishes a fair price, so that way there is no conflict. Establishes a state tax value as well, something that your CPA can help you with establishing that, because depending on how it's transferred, well, in any event, there may be some taxes that are owed depending on the type of product that you set up to fund these particular buy-sell agreements. Encourages confidence in the business. Again, having a contract, having a succession plan establishes that you have everything together. If something were to happen to the business owner, then you can have a smooth transition, and the customers have confidence in the business. The family has confidence in the business. Both business partners have confidence in the business, and you can continue to operate as normal. Also considers the needs of family, co-owners, and also employees. So again, if you pass away as a business owner, the employees, they want to make sure that they are safe. They want to make sure that they don't have to, that they don't lose their job. The co-owner can continue the business as needed as before, and also the family has their needs met as well. So everything is just pretty much a smooth transition of the business. So when is a plan needed for retirement? Typically, people don't want to work forever. So, you want to have some type of retirement plan. Now, I do have some clients that say, I'm going to continue to work or be a partner in this business until I pass away. Great. Most people aren't like that. Most people that I run into, they want to have some plan that says, I want to retire at such age and I want to receive X amount of dollars from my business partner upon my exit. Also, total or permanent disability, where a lot of people, we're healthy, thriving, but what happens if you become disabled? Or even if it's not permanent, you're disabled, you may not be able to perform the same function as you were performing before. Therefore, a plan needed to be in place to basically financially support your involvement in the business. The desire to sell to a third party. Both business owners may not want to continue business in any event that one passes away or something happens. So they would like to have that business transferred or sold to a third party. So something is already set up, a deal is already struck saying that company XYZ is going to purchase this business in the event that both business owners want to retire, or they pass away, and they want to sell. Next one is voluntary or involuntary termination of employment. There's, think things come up and things happen and you may have to terminate. So in your operating agreement that you have, there should be guidelines that says partner, a business owner, co-owner can be terminated from this business in the event that they do this or that. You want to make sure you have that in place. A lot of times business owners don't think about that. They just think about retirement or disability or passing away, which will get to death, but they're not thinking about uh, involuntary termination, or if the business owner just wants to terminate, they just want to wash their hands. I work with a nonprofit organization that the one owner, after I think it was maybe 10 or so years, just decided that she wants more out of life than what the organization is offering her right now. So she decided to voluntarily terminate. Now, they didn't have any agreement set in place that spelled out if one business owner decided to voluntarily terminate, because when they started the business, they had a lot of zeal, a lot of passion, and they didn't see this coming. But now, we're working on structuring something to the point that the business owner that is voluntarily terminating, she will receive X amount of dollars per month for a certain period of time. So that way, the business owner that is left can continue to business as normal with their clients. It happens, a lot of small businesses fail in a certain number of years, right? We all know that that's the case. We know the statistics about it, and there may be bankruptcy, and you want to have something in place that says if the business goes bankrupt or if a partner goes bankrupt, then what do we have to make sure that something pays out to the other owner, because now that business owner has filed bankruptcy and they cannot continue to perform or put more money into the business. Therefore, they have to exit. Divorce of an owner. It happens. Unfortunate, but it does happen. In the event that there is an agreement in place, then you're going to have a big problem on your hands. That now the owner who's getting divorce's spouse may, after a court settlement, take a certain amount of shares or a certain amount of money, will be entitled to a certain amount of money from the spouse that is the business owner. So you want to have something in place that spells out whether shares are going to be transferred over to one business owner. There's different ways to kind of structure it. A lawyer can help you with that, but that's definitely something that you want to have in place. The next one is death. Like I mentioned before, death and taxes are guaranteed. So you pass away, you want to make sure that you have something in place that says that my family will be paid out X amount of dollars if the other business owner were to pass away. The one that's, Sean, did you have something?
Yes, we had a question in the chat.
Okay.
I was going to let you finish this slide off.
Okay. Okay, so let me just bring up one other bullet point that's not mentioned here. Felonies, jail time. That's not listed, but that's real. We see it on TV all the time, where one business owner gets caught doing something and they end up in jail. Now they cannot perform their same duties as before, and that is a loss of income for the business. Okay, Sean.
All right. What are the different types of business valuations? Can you speak on each of them? And how much would it cost to get a business valuation done?
So I will speak on business valuation. That is a slide that is coming up, and I'll get to that. And just to answer a question, the second one about how much does it cost? It depends on the size of your business. We do have a referral company that we work with for business valuation. We can do it in-house as well, depending on the detail of it. And we can, again, the price is going to vary. I don't want to give you one set price and you walk away thinking it's going to cost this amount. It depends on the complexity and the size of your business.
Cool.
Other questions?
That was the only one. And you said you had a slide on the business valuation. So that was the other part of the question.
Okay, I'll get to that part. The importance of planning special consideration for family businesses. Not all children work in the business. Estate equalization. In my business, none of my kids work here. Actually, well, my one son, he actually started to intern. He's going to intern starting this week, but he has no idea really what goes on. He just does a little bit of clerical work for me. And again, not all children work in the business. Now, in other businesses where maybe it's a plumbing business or a construction business, something like that, maybe that's something where your kids will work in the business, but that isn't that's not all the time that happens. The next generation isn't ready. It may not just be that they're too young, where they're underage, but they may not be. They may have the urge to even be a part of your business, so they're not ready. You haven't trained them up to take over the family business. So in that situation, you're going to want to have some type of succession plan that spells out if something happens to me prior to my son, daughter, whoever being trained to take over the business, then these next steps will happen. There are times where the other business owner will take over duties, but their job is to train the son, daughter, whoever of the business owner until they get to that point where they can step in and they're proficient in that particular business and they take over. Another situation with a family business, the spouse depends on business income. I believe there's a slide that's coming up to talk about that as well. A lot of times one of the spouses aren't working and the business owner is a breadwinner. So the spouse, the family is depending on that income. You want to have something in place that will pay that spouse X amount of dollars over a course of period of time. So that way the income stays in the house, that spouse can afford to continue to pay the bills or college tuition or whatever have you that they're paying, so there isn't an interruption in their daily life. Although their spouse, the business owner, has passed away or become disabled or some other example that I shared on the last slide, they're still able to make ends meet. All right, so let's take a look at a case study with Steve, Kathy, and Jim. 33 years in the plumbing and heating business. Steve and Jim are both partners. Steve's wife, Kathy, is a teacher, and unfortunately, Steve has passed away 6 months ago. So what went wrong? Business ownership. Steve was 75% of the business. Jim was 25% of the business. Surviving owner to buy shares, but never put it in writing. So Jim or Steve were to buy the shares of the other one, but there was never anything in writing. Kathy is struggling without Steve's income. So Jim paid Kathy for a while, and then Jim stopped from a number of different things. Again, being in the plumbing business, maybe business wasn't booming, it wasn't coming through the same way it was before because now Steve has passed away. Jim would like to own the business, but doesn't have the money to pay Kathy what Kathy thinks or what Kathy should be owed for Steve's part of the business. And Jim and Kathy can't agree on the value of the business. So Kathy, I'm sure, was again friends with Jim and Stephen. Maybe from what she was able to gather over the course of time was that her husband Steve did just as much work as what Jim did. So that's 50-50. But like you see here, Steve was 75% of the business ownership. Jim was only 25%. And that causes a problem because there isn't a plan in place. There isn't a business valuation. There isn't a buy-sell agreement. Therefore, Kathy is at a loss. She's upset. There's really nothing in writing. And Jim may be good friends with Kathy and want to pay Kathy what Jim was bringing into the house, but he can't afford to do it. Therefore, he really doesn't have any legal obligation to pay Kathy anything because there wasn't anything set up, wasn't anything in writing. So a written funded buy-sell agreement would have helped. Like I mentioned before, Jim would have the money to buy Kathy shares. Jim will be 100% owner. No interference from the heirs, no interference from the spouse, no disruption to business. Agreement would have spelled out a fair price, like I talked about before, and Kathy would have had the financial support she needed. So this is an unfortunate situation where Kathy is not able to get what she needs. Jim feels horrible. Steve passed away, and it's just a situation that could have been avoided if there was a funded, keyword funded, buy-sell agreement. Right, so value of the business. What is the true value of the business? Right, so on the highest end of the value of the business, what the IRS thinks, basically based on taxes, based on other businesses, this is what the IRS says this business is valued at. The next level down with what a business is valued at is what the seller will accept. And again, without a buy-sell agreement, whatever the seller accepts payment of, that's what the business value at. What a buyer would offer. If I'm the buyer in the situation where there isn't a business valuation, whatever I'm going to offer, whatever you accept, that's what the business is worth. A book value, just based on the numbers, right? Based on the revenue, the EBITDA, all of that stuff. That's on the lower level of what the business is value. Doesn't show any future growth, doesn't show any projections. It's just plain book value down to what it says in the books. And the very last one is liquidation value. So liquidating everything down to the shares of what is what would be paid for that particular business. So that's the very bare minimum of what the value of is in a business. And I'm sure we've all witnessed a state sale or liquidation, and the business is obviously worth more than that, but there's nothing in place for that. So those are the different types of valuations of a business. Again, you want to have a business valuation in place, a business valuation in place, simply because in the absence of nothing, it's going to, if it comes down to just a sale, what the IRS thinks, then that's the highest amount that it's going to be worth. So the different types of business valuations that you can get, the different companies out there that can help you evaluate your business depending on your books, depending on your future growth, what that's anticipated to be. And that's something that you want to have in addition to the buy-sell agreement, in addition to having the business funded or the buy-sell agreement funded. So hopefully that answers your question. The true value of the business. So just a few different case studies. This out the way a little bit. Okay. So like I mentioned before, I'll go over one case. The case one, the value per share by the estate is $500. The IRS is going to value at the highest amount if there's a legal if there's a legal battle in place and has to go to the court's going to have a higher value as well. The delay in settling the estate is it could be 5 years, 4 months, as you can see in different examples. That the if there's nothing in place to settle the estate or to buy the other business, then it could take years, and that does cost money. Sean, I saw you come back on, so maybe there's a
Yeah,
question in
two
the chat.
things. Why is the IRS value the highest of the lot? And also your volume, your audio been going in and out a little bit.
Yes, okay, that may be the connection. The IRS is going to value it higher. I mean, so just I will put in the mind frame of like your property taxes, right? So if you're the IRS may say based on all the other businesses or all the other properties around you or in a certain area, we're going to raise taxes. Now, your property may not be worth that, but they're going to say because we want more money, they're going to value it at the highest amount. The IRS will also say based on the other businesses that are complementary to your business in a given area, then this is the amount, because they're not looking at any other books. They're not looking at any future growth. They're not looking at anything else other than what they have to go off of what they know from other businesses that are like your business. So that's why the IRS's value would be higher than any other valuation that you would get. And hopefully my volume, I'll try to get closer to the screen. So valuing the business, an accurate business valuation can help. It can lock in a sell price. That way you don't have to negotiate. You don't have to argue about what the business is worth. It can reduce estate tax. Have a lawyer charged by the hour. Improves lines of credit. There's confidence in the business. Like I said before, something in place, your creditors, your loan companies, they know that you have something that's going to have a smooth transition. You'll be able to pay those lines of credit back, so they're comfortable with continuing to extend lines of credit for you or to you. Reduce delays and disputes. Reduce delays and disputes from the other business owner, your family, whoever. Will dispute a valuation, a business valuation can help, and also provides fair treatment of heirs. Just like I mentioned, the Jim, Kathy, and Steve situation, where Kathy didn't get what she thought she would get, and it wasn't that Jim didn't want to, it was just that Jim and Steve didn't have anything in place. If you have a business valuation, now you get fair treatment because there actually is something in place. Now, also, what I would suggest is have a business valuation maybe every 3 to 5 years, because things may change, right? You may have had a business valuation this year that showed the next 5 years you're going to grow by 3x. Now all of a sudden you're at 10x. I'm working with a couple of business owners right now that have a real estate development company, and they are valued at a certain amount of money right now, which I think it's like $2-4 million, but they have a business valuation over the next 5 years to get to 100 million, right? So that may happen, maybe that doesn't happen, but you want to go back and continue to evaluate that business, because that buy-sell agreement or that funding for that buy-sell agreement may need to continue to go up. So that way there's fair value for the business that you and your partner have. All right, so professional corporations and special considerations. So with a CPA business, tax business, attorneys, engineers, physicians, these are businesses that you can only sell to another qualified professional. So I'm not sure if there's any CPAs, attorneys, engineers, or physicians, or even in my profession of financial planning, wealth management, you can only sell to another company or like qualified professional that can actually work in the business. Now, you may be able to sell the business to a company that hires those particular types of professionals, but you have to have licenses, and those are for certain types of businesses. You have to have licenses, right? You know, you can't. If I'm a plumber, I'm not going to be able to buy a doctor office because I don't have the credentials to do that. In this situation, there's few hard assets. Must consider value of goodwill. You know, again, CPs, attorneys. There's, unless you own the property, you're not going to have a lot of hard assets. Professional corporations typically value differently, perhaps only 1 to 3 times their annual revenue. So if you are, not sure if anybody in this call is in the mergers and acquisitions, or they are CPA, but that's typically what the value of that particular professional business is worth. Again, it's all negotiable. It's all what somebody is willing to pay for your particular business. It doesn't have to be 1 to 3x, it could be 4, it could be 5x. Just depends on what the next person is able or willing to purchase your business for. All right, so now let's go to planning options. So planning options, alternatives of death of an owner. So alternatives are liquidate the business, just sell everything. The family inherits the business and they run it. Surviving owner continues business with deceased heirs. I don't see that too often. When that happens, when a wife or a husband or a family member wants to step in and do what their loved one was doing, that's kind of far and few in between, but it does happen. Survivor's interest is sold to deceased family, or deceased interest is sold to surviving owners, employer, third party. So we kind of talked about that a little bit on the slide before, so won't get into that again too much. But again, that's a consideration with a third party. Maybe that's an agreement that some third party has already said upon you retiring or you becoming disabled, or whatever have you, that would be an event that we will purchase that business off you, and that agreement's already struck. So
we have another question. What is a multiplier that is used to value different types of businesses, and how is it used? For example, consulting firms or software engineering firms.
So what's the multiple, the value? Is that what the question? Like what? So in the previous slide, 1 to 3 times. I know personally, like in my business as financial advising, what I see is I really don't see 1 times the revenue or the business anymore. Usually it's like 2 or 3 times. But like I said, honestly, it depends depending on what the person's want to purchase. I mean, maybe your clientele is such that you can say, even though I'm making X, I know that over the next X amount of years, this business is going to increase their clientele or increases clientele. Therefore, I want 3 times or 4 times. That's probably about the extent of it, just personally from what I have witnessed. But that doesn't have to be true. So I would say maybe 2, 3x. Again, a evaluation of your business will be able to determine that when they kind of get down into like the, so to speak, nitty gritty of your books and your clients and your revenue and your assets under management, kind of things like that. They'll be able to give you a more clear picture of where what multiples you should value your business at for sale. Sean, did you have another one?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. Buy-sell agreement specifics. So this is part of that initial agreement that says if I, business owner, were to pass away or have one of those events that I have mentioned to you before, here's what's going to happen. So who must sell? Who must buy? The triggering events, which I talked about before: death, disability, felony, bankruptcy, divorce, retirement, value or formula for valuing your business, the terms of payment, how that's going to be paid out, and how it's going to be funded. I would say that the very last bullet point, funding, is probably the most important here. And well, they're all important, right, in a buy-sell agreement, but this is the one I should say that gets overlooked. I find that business owners have these great buy-sell agreements that spells everything out down to the dot, down to the cross, dot the I's and cross the T's, but it's not funded. So I want to talk here in a little bit of how to make sure that these buy-sell agreements are funded. Funding the plan. There's some different ways of funding the plan. Cash. If you have cash on hand that can buy out the other person's shares of the business, then that's great. That's a little bit, that's kind of hard sometimes because depending on how the cash is coming in, you may not just have 100, 200, 300, 400,000 bucks just sitting in the bank. A sinking fund, one that you just continuously put money into over time, which that sinking fund could be, it could be in a checking account, it could be in a savings account, it could be in an investment account, something like that, where you're just constantly just kind of putting money into as you get a chance to do it. I do see these, but it may be difficult depending on what your profits are, how much you can actually put into that plan. A loan, you can always get a loan to pay off the other person's part of the business. Now, I don't recommend a loan. Again, maybe you have to, but a loan obviously is going to have an interest rate. So not only do you got to pay back that loan to buy that other partner's shares out, you have to pay interest on that loan. And depending on a lot of different factors from the lender, whether it be lender X or bank or whoever, you're going to have to pay some interest. So depending on how your money is flowing in, it may set you back as the current business owner from continuing to sell whatever products or offer whatever services that were being offered before. Installment sales, another one that the current business owner is going to pay the family a certain amount of money over a period of time in installments. Depending on that money can come from a few different places, and come from cash, come from investments. But again, the installment plan, just like a sinking fund, or in the situation we looked at a few slides ago with the plumbing business with Jim, Steve, and Kathy, at some point, maybe business isn't coming in a certain type of way that you can continue to pay out those planned installments, but that is a way to fund the plan. The next one is life insurance. So life insurance is one of the more popular ones, one of the ones that I typically suggest that I help my clients out with. The life insurance will satisfy the current buy-sell agreement or future. So for example, the clients that I'm working with currently, that they set up a buy-sell agreement, we set up a life insurance policy that is going to pay the other partner's family out the valuation of their business, but we didn't do it at what the current amount of the business is worth. We went out 2-3 times X, so that way we can put some runway between where they are now and where they should be in the next X amount of years. And that way we don't have to apply for another life insurance policy to pay out. The life insurance death benefit, if done properly, is a tax-free benefit. So tax-free funds go directly to the other owner's family. So this is one of the more popular ones, life insurance. It is insurance, so it depends on your health qualifications, but we're able to typically help out our business owners with having that set in place. And sometimes it doesn't cost you a whole heck of a lot. Sometimes depending, maybe sometimes it does, depending on your health, but this is one of the more popular ones. Also, one thing that I'll talk about here on the life insurance, and that we're coming up on, we got maybe 10 minutes ago, so I'll try to get through a little bit quicker, is that you may want to use the life insurance under a certain tax code to pull out money from the life insurance plan on a tax-free basis for purchases for your business. So that's another function of how I see business owners use life insurance as well. But in this example, this is something that is funding that buy-sell agreement to pay out to the beneficiaries. All right. So, content's importance of planning, just to recap, like I mentioned before, allows for transfer according to your wishes. You want to make sure you plan properly. You want to make sure you value the business, determine the fair market value to buyer and seller ahead of time. Get that business valuation company. If you don't have one, we can help you with that. We can also refer you out to another company that works with business owners to evaluate your business and make sure you evaluate your business. You don't just do it for today, looking down the road of where you think that you can be year over year growth, profit and loss statements as well. Planning options, decide who will buy, how, and when they will buy it, and also funding the plan. Life insurance assures funds that complete plans as long as required premiums are paid. So as long as you're paying those premiums, then that life insurance policy is going to be paid, and you can ensure that that other party is going to be able to pay out those funds to the family. And also with funding the plan, whether it's cash, a sinking fund, investments, things like that, we can help with as well to fund the plan. So coordinating planning can turn the hope of full value into a realistic plan. And with that quote, so the next steps uh, is just like I mentioned before, that we can help you get started. Hopefully, everybody here has got something good out of this presentation. But we are here to help out of Harnell Wealth Legacy. We can get you started and help you develop a plan that will ensure that you have a succession plan that meets your current and your future needs. So yeah, so that is it. Thank you for everybody for showing up. If you want to reach out to me, Sean, hopefully we can pass that information out, send in an email, my information to everybody. Ohana Wealth Legacy, Ohana stands for family.com. Ohana Wealth Legacy is our website, and we're listed on there. You can go book an appointment, or Sean, like I say, can send out my information. And looking forward to helping people on this call out. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
We have another question. Could you talk a little bit about your external partner that values businesses? Do they have experience in valuing consulting firms or software engineering firms? Can you provide a range of fees based on revenue?
So yes, they work with a range of different businesses from consulting, engineering firms, and the like. So I can refer, we actually have two companies that we work with. So depending on capacity, I can put that referral out there for whoever needs that on this call, and we can go from there. Again, for the fees, I don't want to be the great deflector here, but I don't want to speak on that company's fees because that depends on, right? Like that depends on a lot of different things. So I would say what you should do is reach out to that company and have them give you their costs of what their services are. Like I said, we do some of that in house as well, so we can go over that. But we'll definitely get you, with the best fit for what you're looking for to get your business valuated.
Are there any other questions or comments for today's webinar? Orlando, are you able to share your PowerPoint with me?
Yes, I can share my PowerPoint with you.
All right,
Yeah, I
so
think
what will
those slides
happen
still up
is
there.
I'll be sending out an email for the survey. I will also attach the PowerPoint, and I'll have Orlando's contact information all within the email.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope you did get something out of this. And if you need a follow-up, like I said, Orlando's information will be in the email that I send out to everyone that attended this webinar. Just a couple quick things. We have 3 more events before the summer starts. We have our Power Breakfast meeting, which will be held this Friday with Congresswoman Summer Lee, which will start at 9 from 9 to 10 at the Rivers Club. We have our second mixer of the year, which will be at Fogo de Chao on Tuesday, June 24th from 5 to 7. And finally, we have our big annual meeting and luncheon, which is on June 25th, held at the Westin Pittsburgh Hotel from 11 to 1. 11 to 12 is the members meeting, 12 to 1:30 is the luncheon, and our guest speaker is Auditor General Tim DeFore. This will conclude our webinar. I hope everyone has a good day, and be on the lookout for the email that I'll be sending to you momentarily. Thank you again, Orlando. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. Everyone have a good one.
Thank you. You too.